Duel Phase. I'll actually link some of my sets to give some insights as well. Forward A is Smog. This Cloud, and this applies to Duel Phase as well. If you strike into that with certain attacks, I'm not sure exactly which attacks, but let's have them record. Let's try to strike into this with different 6X, 6A, slide away blast, slide is fine, 8X, slash. You see how ridiculous this is, by the way. Even level 3 blast will explode. Let me show you what happens. You get exploded. You can armor, but this pierces, so it doesn't. Yeah, I think jumping wide. Nah, jumping wide. Oh, okay. Let's see about Earthquake. Earthquake is fine, but most of your moves, not a good move. If they have the Smog. You really want to be inside the range as well. You get Smog, dash back up or walk back up. They're gonna want to try to hex you though after the Smog. Now, jump is probably the most direct and simple kind of deal with Smog. You can't react to the Smog, but you can just jump preemptively to avoid that attack. Now, the other thing Chandelure is going to like to do is 5 Y strings. This is not a jukebox string. However, if you armor in between them and they cancel the second into the Smog, you get hit. So it's really like a guess, but so what a lot of players like to do is they like to teleport in between things. Because let's say I did this. Now, if I try to armor the second hit, I'm gonna get hit by Smog. Oh, okay, that's actually interesting. But that's not really right. If I teleport after the first hit, then I'm able to grab Chandelure. Neutral teleport should be the fastest. Let me see if this is true. Yeah, they have time to press a button after this. Usually they're not gonna have recovered, so you can still. They're not gonna visually recognize that you teleported. But what Twixie started doing is he started doing like 5Y, and then he would go for like overheat or something like that. So it's pretty dangerous. Make sure that when you're teleporting that you saw the Smog before you press it. Otherwise, they can go for like an overheat or something like that. But yeah, after blocking 1 or 2 hits, you can teleport. If they Smog, then you can do that. Or you can just guess they're gonna Smog and jump. But that's kind of iffy because obviously you might not be in the right range to properly punish them, and obviously they can cancel into stuff like overheat. And that sucks. Twixie will definitely do that. So watch out for that. You teleport backwards though, you'll be able to avoid that. I think that teleporting backward it uses up HP that we Also, let me just talk about overheat. Overheat is -8 on block, and it pierces, and it does like how much damage? It does 180 damage. That's crazy. So you don't want to eat that. Especially if you tried to grab it and they went for overheat, it's like 240 or something. It's just an insane amount of damage. Oh yeah, Meaty Pillar is super good against Chandelure in Field Phase. In Duel Phase, a lot of times they're gonna backdash in the corner. It's super good. But anyway, overheat is already too. So 6x, when you start charging that, you want to be leaning towards thinking that you're going to cancel it into a backwards teleport. because if they do overheat, then you can cancel into a backwards teleport. They go for a smog, you won't be able to punish, but backwards teleport gets you away. Counter attack, you'll be able to get away as well. If they do not, like if they're in this form, when they have a stat down, any stat down by the way, will make it so they can't do their fully charged overheat. And the only way that they can get it back is they just have to, you know, use up a lot of time or release X, which will give them, it will recover their status faster. Now, when they are in negative status, right, like this, you can go for Vortex a lot freer because the only thing they can really do to stop it is Fog. If you do a 6x into teleport forward, then, like if you're charging sideways and you see a Fog, and you do R, then you'll be able to actually punch this Fog. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We haven't even gotten in yet. The obstacles to getting in are this forward 5A, they can also leave this area, which is pretty annoying, and 6X, which they can delay this to make it stronger in field. I mean, in burst, it actually is pretty ridiculous. But both of these are negative on block. They're like, you can 2Y them, but you never know if they're gonna cancel into the second hit. If they ever do, then you can 2Y it. This is minus 16 on block. This, either of these follow-ups are like the bigger or the smaller, they're both negative 20 on block. This move, treat it the same way as 5Y. They can cancel it. Whoa. They can cancel it with Smog, they can cancel it with the overheat. Really though, you don't want to really be in this range. I'd say if you're in this range, just walk back a little bit. You punish that. These, as soon as you see these, as long as you see it early, I think jumping forward is the best idea. This air laser, this, how you do this? Alright. That you can slide under, but sometimes you might mistake it for this one, which you cannot slide under, which is just the regular grounded laser. The air laser is done with jump, and then up Y, and then the regular laser is just done with forward. So, 2Y, point blank, you can actually, I think you can just punish that point blank. But, at this max range, you can't punish it, and it pushes you right into Hex range. The best way to deal with Hex is to just not stand in the range of Hex. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this is an easy situation to deal with. Like, oh, all you gotta do is jump, and then you got 6 hits in the air. It's not like most of the other characters. Chandelure has, as you can see, dominance over pretty much every position on the screen. And if you start jumping, it can throw this out, which, yes, it hits in the air. But if you stay on the ground, it can hit you on the ground too, even if you're jumping. You can slide under it if it's kind of close to you, but if you're kind of far like that, you're just going to slide right into it. So Chandelure has dominance over the ground. Chandelure, I think, is one of the best characters in the game. It's the only character that really has more control over the ground in both field and dual phase than Shadow Mewtwo. So your goal is, whenever possible, to pop Magikarp, because all of these hits, again, take multiple hits to knock you down or phase shift you. So once you've gotten it knocked down, then you get in and you do a 6x and you cancel into Sideway. If they go for a Smog, you teleport. Overheat, you teleport. If they go for just the counter attack, Vortex is a pretty good option, but sometimes it's hard to see. On hit, they go for level 2 slash into the Vortex, or you can go for a level 2 slash into the rest of the slashes. And if you're anywhere close to the wall, then you get a full combo. And this can do a lot of damage to Chandelure because it doesn't have a lot of health. That's 5-10. Side Y and field phase is not that great of an option because of all of Chandelure's moves that go through projectiles. So let me just remind you of that. Forward Y is pretty nice because it's always going to be jumping. Speaking of jumping, Chandelure's going to want to do this a lot. I still, to this day, haven't found a guaranteed option to deal with all the different ways that it can like cancel after this, but what I think is probably the most consistent that I've been doing lately is if you block this, start charging counter. Because if they go backwards, then they're not going to hit you. If they go forward, then you're going to counter this. If they go for this, oops, they go for this, the jump Y, then you can armor that and then dip. I wonder if they can do this into another. No, they can't. Rotom is nice against this, by the way. Also, if you ever see me charging this, counter that. If you ever see them charging this, counter that as well. You can try to side strike it, but these hitboxes are kind of crazy. They will actually go through side strikes sometimes, which I don't even know how they program that, but yeah. This matchup is going to teach you that jumping X, while it is effective against some characters, it is not really that great to just be throwing out as you're jumping over projectile approach option. Raw jump Y comes out a lot faster, and that's going to be your go-to. Yes, they can 8Y you, but a lot of times you're just going to have to jump. Zen Headbutt's not really a good idea, but just raw jump Y will get you a lot of mileage in this. And then when they're looking for it and they do a preemptive 8Y, then you can whiff punish that. But if I'm like at this range, and I think they're going to throw out a projectile, I'm going to just jump and be like, let's just go for this. 5Y can knock you down, but it's not that much damage in the air. Otherwise, if you have Eevee, obviously I don't. Pillar is nice, but it's going to be very difficult to keep Chandelure still long enough for that. I think that against Chandelure, one of the most important things that you can possibly do, nice, is just stand right here. Just stand there and see what they like to do. If they're whipping 8Ys, whip punish. If they're going for smogs, block it and walk right back in that range. Chandelure is a very reads-based matchup where you need to see what they like to do when you're in an uncomfortable range for them. Once you get that read, you know they're going to smog, then you jump over it. Or if you see they're going for 5Ys, teleport through the first 5Y, see if they went for a smog, grab that smog if they went for that. If they're backdashing, just keep walking right next to them. You want to stand at this range because if you stand back here, you're going to get hexed. And this allows you to jump at any time, even if they're walking back. If let's say they like to walk back and then throw a 5Y, that's when you see them walk back, jump. It's all about getting the read on the opponent. I'm not really a reads based player in neutral, but against Chandelure, you kind of gotta be. Now, those are the basics against Chandelure, and I could make this video extremely long, but let me just end it on this. Make sure that you're grabbing, Release A, which is minimized, though watch out if they have overheat, because they can still go for overheat. It's better to try to grab it in the field phase. Burst, you're going to want to do a lot of this. Get up in your face, burst, or back up, burst. If you're close enough, you can grab that. But I think the biggest thing to take away from this whole thing is magic off the field, get up close and block next to it in duel phase, and try to get it comfortable with the pattern of either smogging you or going for overheat or going for any move that is predictable so that you can go for the next option that is going to beat that. And that sounds super flowcharty, that sounds super generic, but that's really the only way that you're going to consistently beat Chandelure, because this is one of the few characters in the game that when you're not in a meaty or pressured situation, it does have better neutral tools than you do. I think it has the best neutral tools in the game, but you know, that's my opinion. Thanks for watching my anti-Chandelure guide.